Male Mego, y'all. I'm New Pharaoh and welcome to New News with New Atu. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about how Christianity was the first Psy-Op and is probably the most successful Psy-Op in the Western era. So when I say Christianity was the first Psy-Op meaning psychological operation, I want you to first step into the mind of those who would benefit from such a religion. Now, we know the story of Christ that has been told to us, and we know that most of the religion of Christianity, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to lump the Abrahamic faiths together, which include Catholicism, Christianity, and Islam. Because Islam was started by Ishmael, who was the first son of Abraham, who was cast out of the house after Isaac was born. Now, Ishmael learned of God through his father Abraham. So both these religions serve the first God, the same God, I should say. Now, the first God, that's an interesting one, because what I first thought of just now was how the origins of Yahweh were actually Sumerian. So when we refer to God the Father in these Abrahamic faiths, and we say that there's a Trinity with a Son, and we say that Yahweh is the supreme being, in the Sumerian context, Baal, and Yahweh were actually brothers. They were both bulls, and they were both storm gods. El was the father. We can see evidence that this remained in the religion because all the angels, especially the archangels, all end in the name El. Right? Michael has an L at the end of it. Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Azrael, right? So Haniel, right? Like there's tons of evidence for this. So what happened was the Jewish community, the Israelites specifically, Yahweh was given dominion in this religion over the Israelites. The Israelites decided that they weren't fucking with the Sumerians anymore, so they were going to make their deity the supreme. It does bring up an interesting case because we learn that Baal was the devil, right? Is like how it's framed, who rebelled against God the Father, but the Israelites were the ones who removed themselves and exalted Yahweh as the supreme being, which was a rebellion against the original context of the religion that it was in. Now, that's just like theological stuff. Now we're going to talk about the actual people who ran the systems who would see benefit in Christianity becoming a big thing. So let's start where the Romans crucify Christ, right? So here's this guy who had the ability to do miracles and speak spiritual truths, and he never wrote a book because the kingdom of heaven was within. It was something to be experienced and something to be essentially brought and transformed the earth with. So there was going to be no need for books, is my personal theory. But very easy to take advantage of the fact that he didn't specifically write something, so they can write about him and tell us about his story. Jesus was a pacifist, right? Even though he does say, I came to bring a sword, I came with a sword, or I may be misquoting a little bit there, but essentially saying that he was here to, break the chains and not be passive. But if that's true, then there's even more evidence that this is a psyop, because what do we see? We see slaves obey your masters. We see turn the other cheek, right? So when the Romans had this like Christian problem going on, I think there was a time wherever they realized that this could actually be really helpful. Their leader, right? Their God, Christianity, Abrahamic faiths, their God was crucified. He sacrificed himself, right? So whenever you have people who are more spiritually inclined, who are more willing to help the masses, it would be really helpful as a predatory system to center a figure who is all about sacrifice. Why? Because then when you're doing all your bad shit, these people are more willing to passively lay down their lives, turn the other cheek, obey their masters, and ultimately pay the ultimate price, because they think that their true life and prosperity is in the hereafter. So whenever Rome adopts Christianity as their main religion and solidifies the Trinity at 300 years later, that becomes something that is actually really helpful for the predatory system to continue, right? And so it takes also, I think the Antichrist is such a fascinating concept too, because it's the idea of a false prophet. I also think the divination, right? So what does this religion do? It takes away people's own sovereign power. It says, lean not on your own understanding, right? All of your treasures will be stored in the next life. You should sacrifice yourself. You should not use your powers if you have God-given abilities or skills that you've cultivated as God. That is you. And it tells you to turn away from all of those things and obey your masters and just take it. Just take it. I think that it's a very fascinating thing to really start to deconstruct and to look at, because it is almost too perfect, right? And that's why it's been championed by Western society, who has been so willing to go and murder and traffic and rape and steal and convince or outwardly facing say that the true enemy is a lie, right? Like the devil, the whole thing is that it's a deception. People say like the greatest trick the devil ever did was convincing people he was not real. But really the greatest trick that the devil could ever do would be to never actually exist, so that people could scapegoat something that isn't real to not face their own bad shit that they have all up in themselves. Say that it's because of some entity that's not even real. And then what do you have? If there was a judgment, I like what it says in the Quran, where it says Satan will turn to his followers and say that I only called and you answered, but I always served the true master. As if to say, like, the greatest deception truly would be that there was no devil coming after you. You were just projecting all of your bad shit onto a character that you thought was trying to consume you, and you allowed that fear to consume you and become the very thing that you were afraid of. And so there are so many layers to this, right? Like where it's like you're born cursed. There's collective punishment out the get-go. And to be convinced as a human being that you are so beneath that through no fault of your own, just being born into this world, you are the victim of collective punishment that is truly righteous and just, because the all-loving, all-knowing, all-powerful God decreed that it should be this way. And it warps your sense of a power structure. So whenever you see the predatory systems behaving in this way, it aligns with what you think, it aligns with your metaphysics, which is what you think the underlying causes of everything in the universe is. So it seems like something that you shouldn't fight. And if you have the will to fight, then you should sacrifice yourself. Right? I mean, for a lot of people, I'm not saying anything new, but I know that there's going to be some people that are like, that can't really wrestle with this. But I think that it's important nonetheless to say it. And I think it's important to investigate it. And I think for the people who are on this spiritual journey, I think we still have a little bit of that colonial Western narrative baked into our spirituality, because you go through these periods of understanding that you are one with everything, and that you should purge or transmute or alchemize the aspects of your shadow that you don't appreciate. A lot of those aspects lead you to not being abusive, oppressive, or anything of the like, right? So then it also tells you that you should not take anything that is outside of you. But when you're one with everything, and that's something that you know is a spiritual truth, then nothing is outside of you. And then the whole world becomes this kind of stage where it's you. And this is where the elites low-key have us. The elites are willing to take life, to have power. The elites are willing to rape and to bomb schoolgirls' homes and to triple tap whenever medical aid comes in at a bombing site, and to assassinate and to stage coups and to kill journalists and to kill scientists and artists to maintain power. And so us as God, all looking around at each other, have to eventually reconcile with the fact that these are aspects of us who have obtained this power through organized violence and through pitting us against each other. So my question then becomes, in a theoretical world where systems are oppressive and doing this, when do the other aspects of God decide that we should probably purge those aspects of ourselves? Because if we've done it within us to become passive, right, to become peaceful, and everything is us, then when do we, the collective, decide that we should also do this externally, as within, so without, as above, so below? Because I do think that one thing that the elites have over us is conviction. Like, a lot of us aren't willing to do the things that and I guess like elite, quote unquote, it's just a common nomenclature, I guess. What the elite are willing to do to keep their power, they are willing to lie, they're willing to kill, they're willing to steal, they're willing to traffic, they're willing to turn a blind eye. And a lot of us would not indulge in any of that for our goals. And so they have a conviction that we, the people, have been, honestly, we've kind of been mutilated in that way, where obviously none of the like sex crimes and stuff, like I really think that that's just like twisted psychopaths who enjoy power more than anything, and they're attracted to power. And so they don't even view it, like it sexually arouses them to be in a position of power, taking advantage of people. So I don't think a lot of people are like that. But when it comes to like the idea of defending or protecting, you know, like when are we going to embody that? Because right now they have more conviction about what they believe is good. What they believe is good is that they should be masters to slaves. And like they are showing the universe a lot of conviction in that, and they're showing the universe a willingness to do everything to be able to maintain and uphold that. So what's nice about that though is that we don't have to engage in such grotesque things to be able to get powerful results. We just have to have that same level of conviction within us. You see what I mean? Like, that's kind of the trick to the universe, where it's like, you know, they're executing their conviction, but the illusion is like, you didn't have to do any of that, bro. You know what I mean? And like, I'm going to show them that you didn't have to do any of that. Because I am Lisan al-Gaib, I am an avatar, I am a voice from the outer world, I am a living embodiment of the universe, and you watching this, you are too. So I'm gonna make another video about how to embody your avatar more, and that kind of starts with interrogation, like we've done here, where it's like, how many of these ideas or beliefs that I hold were placed upon me, and why, and who does it benefit? And so that's where we come to the whole Christian or Abrahamic faith Psy-Op thing in the West. So yeah. And another thing too is like, the Jewish Messiah is a war god. Like that, he is Yahweh. Whereas Christ more so kind of symbolized El in a way, I think. I feel like the Romans would have rather everybody become Christian so that they would be more docile and sacrificial than like, I mean, the Jewish, I mean, look at the Torah, right? Look at the Old Testament. Like, that's what gets Christianity in trouble a lot, is like looking back at the Old Testament and being like, holy fuck, like this nigga was metal, right? Like Yahweh like ordering genocide and shit, you know? And like being mad at the king who spared, Yahweh being like, kill all the men, women, children, and animals. And then the king, I forget who it was, but he spared a couple animals to sacrifice to Yahweh, and Yahweh punished him because he was like, I told you to kill every motherfucking thing. Not even the animals that were spared for sacrifice. So like, when you look at, and that's just one story, of course, right? So when you look at that as a system of predators, you're like, damn, these are low-key metal as fuck. Like, we low-key don't need that. And this guy pulling up, sacrificing himself, and we have the ability to kind of control this narrative. We have the ability to control this narrative now. That was like a golden opportunity, really. Which also is something that we need to keep in mind, like to have the foresight of where our actions lead us. Like, you know, it's one of those things, like I talk about all the time, you know, MLK kind of regretted things towards the end, lacking the foresight and understanding that like, these people don't fuck with you, you know what I mean? So in that same way, as practitioners, as people, it's important for us to kind of be able to have that foresight and think like, you know, what precedent am I setting for the generations to come? You know, and I hope, honestly, mine is like, that abuse and oppression does not fly. We protect and preserve our righteousness and our innocence. And it is necessary. It is necessary to resist any form of abuse and oppression, and to stand up for those who can't, and to cultivate that within them so that they can, is very important to me, to bring justice and liberation. So, you know, carry the torches. Thanks for hanging out. I mean, this was like kind of a really heavy thing, but I feel like it felt more chill and laid back. So I do appreciate that. I feel like that has something to do with the viewer. So thanks for being cool and shit, and for hanging out till the end. If nobody's told you today, or if everybody has, just know that I love you. I'm proud of you, and I trust you to keep being your best self. And as always, God bless, Wa love, Thoth guide, and be new, or whatever you'd like to be. And I will see you all in the next one.